Hey, how's it going everybody? In today's video, we're talking about how can we get money out of our 403b plan. So this video, we're going to talk about ways to transfer money from 403b plan to another 403 plan, how to move it to somewhere else, and how to gain access to the funds while you're still employed, both if you're under age 60 and over age 60. Remember that 403bs are primarily taxable accounts, and they can have long-term tax impacts on you. If you want to learn more about how 403bs can affect you tax-wise, check out my free masterclass in the description below, where I talk about how to set yourself up for a tax-free retirement. Also, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future updates just like this one here. So getting money out of your 403b account can be done in a number of ways. So first, let's talk about how can we gain access to the funds while we're still employed and working. So while you're working, if you're under the age of 60, there's a couple of ways to gain access to the funds. So the first way to access your funds is through hardship withdrawal. Now this is put in place by the federal government, and they give you 7 different ways to qualify for a hardship withdrawal. So hardship withdrawals are nice because if you meet the qualifications, you can get the funds out. You'll still have to pay taxes on it, but you essentially avoid the 10% penalty for taking the funds out early. Now, what can you use these funds for? It can be used for fixing up your home. If an insurance company didn't cover costs due to some storm or disaster, it can be used for paying off student loans. The funds can also be used to pay off medical bills or keeping yourself from getting foreclosed upon. So a number of different ways that you can get funds as a hardship withdrawal. Of course, you do have to show proof and documentation on why you need those funds. It does have to be approved both by your employer and your 403b provider. Next way to get it out is through loans. Now, not all 403b plans have this, so check with your employer to see if it's an option. So loans, exactly like it sounds, you're going to borrow money against your plan. This allows you to get money out without paying tax or penalty. There's no qualification for this. So it's what they consider general purpose loan. You don't have to submit documentation or even tell them why you're taking the money out. You submit the application and they'll send you the funds. Now you can get up to 50% of your account value out to a max of $50,000. So that's the most you can ever get on a 403b loan. Now, sometimes they'll let you take more than one loan. So if you got a loan for, say, $10,000 and you said, hey, I need more money, you can go back and maybe get a second, maybe even a third loan, depending on that company's policy. Now, what makes these loans nice is while you do have to pay yourself back with interest over time, the interest charge actually goes back to your own account. So essentially your payments, you're paying your own money back, and the interest that gets charged is put back in your account. So when it's all said and done, you should have more money at the end than you started off with because you made a little bit extra contribution payments into the plan. So these loans are generally going to be for 5 years, with the exception of if you need the funds for a down payment or primary residence, then there's a special 10-year loan available in the 403b plans. So those are pretty good options if you're tight on cash and you need money to get you by. Now, one other way to get money out of these plans that's kind of an unknown benefit is something called in-plan distribution. Now, to qualify for in-plan distribution, first and foremost, your employer has to allow it. So check with them to see if it's an option. Second, you have to be over the age of 59 and a half. So if you're over the age of 59 and a half and your employer allows it, you can go into your 403b plan and move it to somewhere else. So if you have an IRA on the side or an annuity you wanted to fund, you could pull money from the 403b plan while you're still working and move it. This is not a taxable event. There's no taxes due, there's no penalties. It's a free and clear rollover while you're still employed. Now, a word of caution before you go ahead and do this is if you're going to take an in-plan distribution, you want to make sure that you're not going to be hit with any surrender penalties. Remember that about 80 to about 90% of 403b plans out there are annuity based, and they're going to have some kind of surrender penalty on them, especially if they're newer contracts. So you want to make sure you're not getting hit with the penalty if you're going to move the funds elsewhere. So that's the first thing you want to check. Second, if you're moving funds from 403b to another plan, you just want to make sure that you have accessibility to those funds. So in-plan distributions are a little hidden benefit that many people don't know about, but they do exist in some employers' plans. So those are the 3 ways you can gain access to your 403b plans while you're still employed. Now, if you're not employed, you can always access the funds free and clear after age 60 anyways. So rather than doing in-plan distribution, if you just wanted to take the money and put it in your own bank account or spend it, you can. You're already past age 60, so there's no 10% penalty. You just have to pay taxes on whatever you take out if it's a pre-tax account. Now, if you separate service, before age 59 and a half, the 403Bs actually allow you penalty-free access starting age 55. So if you're, say, 55, 56, you separate service and you wanted to take money off to spend, you can do so and you can avoid the 10% penalty. However, if you were to take the 403B funds and then move them to an IRA, then you lose that ability to do that. Moving to an IRA isn't always the best move, especially if you consider an early retirement where you need funds to live on. Now, sometimes you might find yourself perhaps working for a different employer than when you started off with, or maybe wanting to change up the 403B company that you currently have, or perhaps you have accounts outside the 403B that you want to move into it. So all of those things can be done, and they fall into different categories. So when you're filling out paperwork, they have distinct names for them, which I'll brief you on. Of course, if you have an advisor, they should be well versed in this and help you to fill the forms correctly. So if you're moving from one school district to another, so if I worked in, say, Yakima School District, and then I'm going to move to Sela School District, I had a 403B in Yakima and I want to move it to Sela to continue it, that's what we consider a 403B transfer. So it's moving from one employer to the next. If I have money in a different account type, so a non-403B, and I want to move it to a 403B, that's actually called a rollover. So you're filling out the paperwork, it's going to be a rollover transaction. So I move money from an IRA to 403B, 401k to 403B, that's considered the rollover. Now, if I'm with my same employer, so if I'm in Yakima School District, and I want to change company A out for company B on my 403B, that's considered a 403B exchange. So you want to fill out the exchange paperwork or just check the exchange box. That just says, hey, I'm not moving employers, I'm just swapping one plan out for the next. All of those different moves will have tax implications, maybe even fee and accessibility. So make sure you're consulting with an advisor before making the move. If you want to make sure you're not putting money into a 403B that's annuity based, that's going to limit your access to the funds, the rule of thumb is to use a non-life insurance company for your 403B plans. So if you have a company that's something life or life insurance, those are typically going to be annuity-based products. Not always, but 99% of the time they are. If you want to make sure you have maintained access, you want to use a mutual fund-based plan, things like Fidelity, Vanguard, Aspire. Those ones are always going to be the liquid type with no annuity contracts. There's a few other carriers that have both, so they kind of blur the line a little bit depending on the rep that you talk to there. If you need help managing your DCP or even Plan 3 investments, check out Scenic Plan Confidence in the description below for professional ongoing advice on those accounts. Also, the masterclass on how to reduce your lifetime tax bill is available as well, so look that up when you get a chance. I'll see you guys next week. Remember that your future depends on what you do today.